I always, getting towards the end, ask about a fun fact. You already shared that. So wanted to spend a little time in this topic, advice you would give as a starting point. So franchise aside, we're just talking about just thinking of owning a business. What advice would you give yourself, or what advice would you give that corporate exec that doesn't know where to start? Maybe they just, not happy with their job. They want some type of change, or maybe they're liking their job, but the hours are so crazy that, they're missing the kids' soccer games and events and things like that. What advice would you give as far as general advice, and then maybe advice on kind of where to start?
Yeah, I would say, ask yourself the life you want to live and build a business around that.
Mhm.
That's the big one. And then ask yourself what makes you come alive, like I mentioned earlier. I built Aqua. That was a really cool business, but I was working 20-hour days. I was living on a tour bus, living in Vegas. Like
Mhm.
it wasn't exactly the life I really wanted to live. Was
Right.
served like I have a much like better, well-balanced life where I'm getting to pour into young people and talk to lovely old ladies. Like it's a wonderful life. So that is an important one. And I think the why part, like if you aren't excited about what you're doing and you don't believe in what you're doing, like I don't know about you, but I can last more than a week. I just completely give up and don't care anymore.
Right.
So I think that's important. And then and the third, like, does the business idea you have like have the potential to make any money? Like model it out. You don't have to be crazy Excel, but just go through it and have some friends look at it and go, is this sound realistic? Is it not? It might be a little crazy, but just make sure that whatever you're building actually has like some opportunity to make real money. And I think that's the nice part of franchising. It's like it's less of a guessing game. It's like you put your fee down, pay a royalty, and like you get the entrepreneurship, and the lifestyle, but you don't have to like risk it all
Right.
on building your own thing that it has a probably higher likelihood of failure. And I think, for starting, if you're going to start fresh, like what I did is, I got a notebook. I wrote down, I had my business idea. I had everything all that was inspired. And I wrote everything I think I could ever think of that I would need to do. And then I broke it into weeks.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, this is a marketing week. Everything this week is all marketing. I'm not going to do anything but marketing. Next week's sales. All I'm gonna do is sales. Next week I'm
Right.
gonna do is, and what that does is like the power of focus allows you to do exponentially more, especially when you give yourself like a tight time frame, your body's gonna be able to complete way more tasks than if you don't. And you got to jump at some point. And honestly, the best times I've performed my business is when I had a fire under my butt. When I really needed to perform, like that's when I was really successful. And if you think about all like the richest people in the world, all the billionaires, almost all of them dropped out of college or high school and they like had to make it work. And sometimes like having too much of a cushion can like it can be your detriment. It gets you to be lazy, you
Right.
don't move as quickly. So that fire is a good thing. And like you don't want to lose that fire because that fire is a good thing. And like you
Yeah, I agree. I know when I started my first franchise, I signed the franchise agreement February 2nd of 2007, and we found out my wife was expecting 3 days later. So
oh man.
that was my fire. I'm like, man, I gotta, we gotta make this work. We're on one income now. I had left my job, but that's true. This idea of focus is huge. And people are like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know you have to focus. And then I talk to new franchisees, and they got a franchise, they got a side hustle, they have 20 things going on. And it's like, that's fine. You want to diversify, but how do you really go 100% if you have 20 different things you're balancing? So the power of focus is huge. And I talk a lot about the idea of owning the calendar, putting your personal stuff, your rocks on the calendar, making sure you're focused, and handling all the personal stuff. Like I will never miss a family event for work. Work is always kind of second, right? I get everything personal
Yeah.
on, and then I open up the calendar. But
Yeah.
prioritize what's going on in your life. But secondly, focus on one thing at a time and go all in. Give it all you got. Get that business up and running. You may not need 5 different side hustles and businesses. When you go all in on
Yeah.
one, there's some power there. I've definitely seen some magic when I left my job and put aside sold my side business and just focused on my one franchise. We grew, and it wasn't like 10-20%. We grew exponentially. So
Yeah.
that is some great advice. So I greatly appreciate that. Anything else that we did not talk about as we wrap up the episode? Anything we did not talk about? advice or any topic we didn't that you'd like to share or advice?
Yeah, just maybe a quote I love that I was just touching on what you said
Mhm,
is Andrew Carnegie. It's
mhm.
actually Carnegie, not Carnegie. Fun fact. Second richest man of all time. Well, who knows now with
Mhm.
Elon Musk and everybody else. But he said the way to become rich is to put all your eggs in one basket and then watch that basket. He
And
says the
and
people that
and
carry the most baskets end up breaking the most eggs in America.
you said to watch that basket, you said? I'm sorry.
To watch that basket.
Gotcha.
Like focus your energy and your talents and all of your capital and everything on one area and just make it work. Don't get too
Mhm.
distracted. Like we again, like humans think they can multitask, but it's proven that you can't.
Listen to the Franchise Freedom Podcast for the latest tips and strategies on franchising.